Hey guys, welcome back to CYL TV, and today we're continuing with part 3 of the Battle of Nivelles. As you will know from the previous videos, Marshal Davout's French Army of the Interior, consisting of the 12th Division, the 13th Division and the Young Guard Division, are battling away against the Army of the Rhine, which consists of the 1st and 2nd Prussian Infantry Divisions, the Guard Division, for want of a better word. It consists of Guard Infantry and Heavy Cavalry attached, and then the Netherlands Division under the command of Prince William of Orange. As I would have said in the previous videos, this is all part of the 1815 What If campaign. And also I would have alluded to the fact that couriers have been sent up from Marshal Davout's headquarters to Napoleon's command, which is currently fighting the Battle of Hal. So just to quickly orientate you, so basically the battle that we're fighting is just here, and the Battle of Napoleon is fighting against Wellington is up here. Now the situation for Davout at the moment is he's really got about 4 options open to him. One, he could withdraw to a defensive position on this river line here, or he could commit all or part of the Young Guard to help him fight in this battle. And I've put the question out to you guys, and I've got some responses both through the various Facebook forums and also in the posts that I have associated with this video. So without further ado, it's now 16:30 hours, or 4:30 in city speak, here at the Battle of Nivelles. Marshal Davout is contemplating what to do next, and he sees couriers approaching from the Emperor. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue with turn 11, and at the conclusion of turn 11, we will reveal what advice has come to him from the Emperor. First, a quick overview of where we are at the moment. Here's the French 12th Division, consisting of this infantry brigade of veteran light infantry. Then we have a cavalry brigade attached of chasseurs and hussars. We have the Swiss brigade here. They've just been driven out. The 1st battalion has just been driven out from the front half of Nivelles by infantry number 10. Then we have the 3rd brigade, consisting of the 51st Infantry Regiment with an attached artillery battery. Then we get to the 13th French Infantry Division, a brigade of conscripts, a brigade of good quality dragoons, but their horse artillery battery has just been wiped out by artillery fire, so they're faltering. We'll have to see how they stand up. And then we have these 2 brigades here that round out the 13th Division, a brigade here with 12-pounders attached and 1 in the woods. For the Allies, we have the Prussian Guard Brigade, consisting of the Guard Jaegers and their brigade skirmish line, plus 2 Guard Infantry regiments and an attached regiment of veterans. Then we have the Dutch Belgians and the Nassau's and the Dutch Belgian Cavalry Brigade. So these 3 brigades here make up the Dutch Belgian Division, and their horse artillery batteries doing great execution. The Prussian Guard, the Prussian Heavy Brigade, which is attached to the Guard Infantry, they've got a bit of a command issue here, because there is, there's their brigade commander, but they have their cavalry on the left, the guards on the right. The cavalry are just basically an on-table reserve for really at this point. Then we have the 2nd Infantry Division with their 2nd Brigade plus their cavalry brigade. Their 1st Brigade has just assaulted into Nivelles. Then we have the 2nd Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division with a very heavy skirmish line out. And then the Cavalry Brigade that's attached, and the 1st Infantry Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, who's launching a very heavy diversionary attack on the French right flank. So that's the overview of where we are at the start of turn 11. So we'll start with ADC availability. So we'll start with the Prussian infantry divisions. The 1st Division has 4 ADCs, and as does the 2nd. The 1st will be red. So the 1st Division has 3, and the 2nd Division has both divisions have 3. And now we're all for the Prussian Guards and the Dutch Belgians, Netherlanders. We'll use the ones with Roman numerals for the Prussians. So the Netherlanders have all of theirs, and the Prussian Guards only have 2. So 2 and 3. So it's 3, 3, 2 and 3 for ADCs. Now we'll roll for the French infantry divisions. Red will be the 12th. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 for the 12th, and 1, 2, 3 for the 13th. So now we'll roll for corps orders. So we'll do Marshals Davout first. He has he's got them all available to him, so he has them all. And now for Marshals Blücher, and he has them all available as well. So there's a full suite of corps orders for both army commanders. Now for Marshal Davout, it's a no-brainer. He's going to use the black to release the young guard. Now, whether it'll be a part, all, or none, at this point, we don't really know. But he's sending the request off to bring the division on, and depending on what the Courier says from Napoleon, he might not bring it on at all, because he might withdraw. But anyway, we'll roll to see the turn delay. So if it is released, either the entire division or part thereof, this will tell us how long the delay will be. 1, okay, so they're coming forward quickly if he needs them. Actually, I've read that table backwards. It's the complete inverse of that. So 1, it's a 3-turn delay. That means we're now at the start of turn 11. So the young guard, if it arrives, it'll be arriving on turn 14, at the commencement of turn 14. That's when the young guard troops will be able to come on. Okay, so ADCs have been allocated for the 12th Division. 2 have been used for post of honor for the 2nd Battalion of the 4th Swiss. They're going to use post of honor and try to drive these guys out. The other ADC is going to be Glory without a reroll for the 1st Brigade. And then the 3rd Brigade will have nothing. Obviously, they automatically pass. Now we're going to roll for the 1st Brigade, and they've passed, so they've got Glory. And the 2nd Brigade, 1 dice, and they get what they get, and they've passed. Okay, for the 13th Division, they've got 3 ADCs. They're going to give them all 1 each to the infantry brigades, because the cavalry brigade commander, he is bold, so he gets a reroll of his own anyway. So the conscripts, they've passed. This brigade here, they've passed, and the brigade in the woods, they've passed. Okay, and this brigade here, the reason I didn't give him an ADC is because he's bold, so he gets an inbuilt reroll anyway. They're grenadier and veterans, so they're a pretty good chance to pass. Yeah, either of them is a rally, so they've passed. So they now go to hesitant. So now, because this brigade has passed its initiative test to activate, and the brigade's not hesitant, any unit that's retreated goes from treated to unformed. If the brigade had been hesitant, then it would keep the retreat marker and suffer 4 CDs. But the post of honor has made sure that they automatically rally, so they don't have to worry about that nastiness. Do the initiative rolls or the activation rolls for the Prussians. This brigade here, it's got a reroll and Glory, so 2 dice, 5 pass, which is good news for those guys. They'll go from retreat to unformed. The cavalry brigade with just a reroll, they've passed, obviously, and this brigade here has no ADC, but he's passed. So now let's have a look at the 2nd Division. So the 2nd Infantry Division, they've given a reroll to this brigade here, and they've passed. There was a 3. This brigade here has a reroll, and they've passed. And the cavalry brigade has a reroll, and they've passed. Let's go to the Prussian Guards and the Netherlands. The heavy cavalry brigade has a reroll. and they've passed. They've got a skirmish tasking, but he is bold, so he gets an automatic re-roll. So that's the guards, and they've passed. Now for the Dutch Belgians, they had 2. They've given it to the cavalry brigade for artillery assault, and then they've they had all 3, and they've given it to the cavalry brigade for artillery assault. So artillery assault with a re-roll, and they've passed. The core order that they used was Corps ADC, and they've given that to the the Nassau brigade to give them a re-roll, and the Nassau passed. And the only brigade that doesn't have a re-roll is the Dutch Belgian infantry brigade with a single die, and they've rolled a 2, so they're going to go hesitant. So now we'll roll for Corps initiative. Both armies are rolling 2 dice. The Prussians will be red. They've rolled 5. The French have rolled 10, so the French have the initiative. I just want to add, even though the French have lost the front half of this BUA, which counts as a for initiative, it counts as the equivalent of a hesitant brigade. Because there is not another hesitant brigade within this division, i.e. 2 hesitant brigades within the division, it doesn't add a die to the initiative for the initiative roll for Corps initiative. Charge declarations. We'll do the French first because the Prussians have one over here. But we'll go with the French first because they have the initiative. Post of honor here. The 2nd Battalion of the 4th Swiss with post of honor are going to charge I think this is the 1st Battalion. Anyway, the Infantry Regiment number 10. They're going to charge them. So in response to the charge, these guys get to fire. Normally they would fire with 5, but they're unformed, so they're firing at 4. So 4 dice. And a 5 and 4 is 1 hit. 1 casualty. 2 hits, 1 casualty. So not enough to have any effect on the combat per se. Okay, so these guys are going to launch their charge now. So they'll deliver their volley. It'll be inferior because they have 10 casualties. So they're worn. But they do get their CD because they are veterans. Okay, 3, they've lost fire discipline, but they do score 1 hit on these guys as they come in. How many re-rolls will they get? Well, these guys are not within 3 inches to their rear, but the cavalry is within 6. So they'll get 1 for the cavalry. I'll have to check on this one. How close are these guys? Okay, they're within 6 inches. I'm not quite sure if that cancels their support re-roll out. I'll check the rules. Yeah, they won't get a support from these guys because there is a unit directly to their front, not involved in the charge, within 9 inches, and it's close and a close order unit. So this unit here will prevent them providing support because obviously they're more concerned with these guys here. If they were to fire, they would fire on them, not these guys charging in. So they'll get one re-roll for these guys here, and these guys won't get a re-roll. But they'll be rolling, let's see now, at least 3 dice, maybe 4. I'll check. So these guys will be rolling 2 dice and taking what they get. These guys will be rolling 3 dice and taking the lower 2. So obviously the Prussians are the white dice. So the Prussians, wow, they've rolled an 11. The poor old French, they've rolled 3. Now they do have a re-roll for these guys here, so they'll definitely re-roll the 1. And that's gone up to 5, so that's good. The other re-roll they'll get is their veterans versus lower grade, and they are formed. So they'll get that, so they can re-roll the 2. But that's only a 6. I don't think they're going to get any other re-rolls. Let's have a look. They're not elite. They're not heavy cavalry versus campaign. They're not formed cavalry versus infantry in line. They're not formed infantry versus column versus cavalry. Like I said, formed veteran versus lower quality. Each supporting unit, we've done that. They've only got 1. That's it. So the difference is 4. It's a +4. Infantry versus infantry. Take the ground. defender retreats and takes 4 CD casualties. And the supports, which would be this cavalry unit here, the supports, withdraw 1 CD casualties. All right, that's bad news, because if they have to withdraw a full move, that will take this cavalry unit off the table. We'll do their 4 CD casualties first. They've taken 2. They're at 10. That's 12. That will disperse this unit. So this brigade's going to falter regardless. Now, they had an officer attached, so we have to see the brigade commander, the risk to him. 2, I'm pretty sure he's going to be fine. Okay, so he goes the initial 6 inches directly back using our battlefield accessories widget. That gets him to there. Then a 45-degree arc for the rest of it. Now, the 45 will take him. Unfortunately, there's no close order unit that he comes into contact with. I don't count the original unit, because if they were going to halt, if that had any significance, they would have just come in and basically, well, it's the edge of the world thing, isn't it? Does that bring them in behind these guys? You know what? I'm going to let them. I'll give it to them. The rules do say that you can use the edge of the table as for the first withdrawal. That's where they hold. I think it's a bit harsh for them to completely go off the table, so I'm going to let them go to there and then halt. I guess they are behind these guys, and so that's that. So they're back here unformed. They have to take their 1 CD casualties because of the result of the charge. And they take 1 hit. So that's all the charges concluded. There's no more charges from either side, so we're going to go on to movement, and the French have the initiative. The French, they've recovered 5 discipline with this unit here. There really hasn't been much more movement anywhere along the front on the left, except for here. The 1st Battalion has done a retire to the 2nd line. Of course, they're worn. The 2nd Battalion has stepped back slightly just to move into support range. Over here, nothing's going on with the Swiss except for that charge, which is that combat has to be resolved. But here, there's been a lot of movement. The artillery has done an emergency limber, so they're marked with a retreat marker, because being up there with only 1 hit away from being destroyed, they really need to move back. And they've got cavalry covering them, so that's nice. This battalion here, the 3rd Battalion has stepped back, and the 2nd Battalion that was up here, they have done a retire to the 2nd line themselves. Now, that's another retreat. That's 2 units retreating in the brigade, which would trigger a falter. But considering they're already faltering, it doesn't really matter at this point. So they've come back here, and hopefully they will rally. They are veteran quality, so the odds are that they will. So that's all the French movement. Now we'll go on with the Netherlanders and the Prussians. Let's look at the movement for the Prussians. The Prussian Guard Jaeger in their brigade skirmish line is shifted to the left slightly. That's basically to close up on the command radius issue that they have, because their brigade commander is here. So they've done that. The Nassau infantry have advanced, but they're being slowed up by the hedge here. But their battery has moved through, thankfully, because the Dutch-Belgian brigade, though hesitant, can step back, and so they have done so, which created the gap for the artillery to move through. The Prussian heavy cavalry brigade has moved forward now quite aggressively. It looks like there's a mass of cavalry massing. A huge force of cavalry is building up in the center towards the French left of center. So that's ominous. Not much happened with the 2nd Brigade of the 2nd Division. The 1st Brigade, however, have moved up in support of their comrades that are fighting in Nivelles. The 2nd Brigade, 1st Prussian Infantry Division, has sidestepped to close up on their sister brigade that's on the left. They're advancing now aggressively towards the French right flank. It really is starting to look something like a double envelopment with a lot of pressure in the center. So the young guard can't come quick enough for the French. I think things are looking quite grim now. This battery is limbered up, preparing to advance. Obviously, from the Prussians' perspective, their fear could be that with a heavy attack coming in on the right, they are a little bit fragile on the left, but they're addressing that by shifting their brigades closer together from the 1st Division, so they're consolidating here. And if they can hold on in Nivelles, then from there they can use that as a hard shoulder to defend both their left flank and their center. So it's looking pretty tough now for the French. We'll just go through the shooting phase and then we'll resolve the hand-to-hand combat in Nivelles. We start with skirmish fire, and we've got this French brigade skirmish line here, and we've also got the light battalion in the woods. We'll start with this one though, and they're going to be firing at the Dutch-Belgian skirmishers. So that's 4 bases, so that's 5 dice. That's 4 hits, which is 2 casualties, which will take a base off. Now the light infantry battalion that's in skirmish order, they normally generate 5 dice, and that's the case. They're going to be shooting at the brigade skirmish line from the French Guard Brigade. Three, 4, 5, 6. So 3 hits, which is 1 casualty. They're pretty shot up. They'll probably have to be withdrawn, I think. So now we move along into the center, the brigade skirmish line from this brigade. They're not within 6 inches of the cavalry, so they haven't been spooked off just yet. So they still get to fire. So that will be, let's have a look now. 3 bases, that's 4 dice, and they'll be shooting at this brigade skirmish line here. 3 bases, 4 dice. 3 hits, 1 casualty. So now we have this brigade skirmish line all the way over on the French right, and they're going to shoot at this infantry battalion that's been is charging through. So 4 bases, 5 dice. 6, 6, 4, 4. So that's going to be 4 hits, 2 casualties. That'll take them up to 5. There was no skirmish tasking in place, so there's no requirement for a discipline test. So that's all the skirmishes from the French. Now we'll go on to the Prussians. So now we have this brigade skirmish line. They're within 12 inches of these guys, but not 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases. 7, but they drop 1 when shooting at cavalry, so back down to 6 at the hussars. Six, 6, 5, 5, 1, 3, 4 hits, 2 casualties on the hussars. Okay, so now we have 2 brigade skirmish screens here. This first one will shoot at this battalion here. So there's 3 bases there, that's 4 dice. 1 hit, so no casualties. And then over here, primary target battery, first casualty on those guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 dice all up. Well, there you go. They've got 4 hits, 2 casualties. So 1 over here, so that will take a base off. And then 1 on the battery, which takes them up to 4 casualties. So they won't be able to assault fire unless they have a caisson allocated. So now we have a brigade skirmish line there, a brigade skirmish line there, a brigade skirmish line there, and a battalion skirmish order. So 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of firing from those guys. So we'll start with... Okay, I'm going to start with these guys. That's 4 bases, and they're shooting at this brigade skirmish line there. 3 hits, 1 casualty. That's a base off those guys. Next along is 4 bases. So that's 5, and they're shooting at the battery. The first hit will go on the brigade. Well, they're in cover. So the first, yeah, they're 5 dice and they're shooting at the battery. I still think these are, you have to allocate the first hit to the any kind of skirmishes in the arc and range. So the first hit will go on them, but the primary target is the battery. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 dice. Only 1 hit. So sorry, 2 hits. That'll go onto the 3 hits actually. So that'll go onto these guys. So they're up to 4 casualties now. These guys here. 3 bases, 4 for the brigade skirmish line, but shooting into cover. So that's going to be 3 dice. 1 hit, nothing. And then over here, 1, 2, that's a light infantry battalion is 5, but their rifle arms 6. They've got the skirmish tasking 8, but they drop 1 because of the cover 7, and they're shooting at the line. But the first hit will have to go onto the skirmishes. Well, it's a double 6, so that's just 1 casualty. It has to go on these guys, but it does trigger a discipline test, so they'll go up to 5 now. But they were the target. Well, we'll just do the discipline test first. They are line quality. 5. Okay, they'll go unformed. So that was the target. So I guess the target's the one that goes unformed. Okay, so the rule is when firing the brigade skirmish line, the priorities are any enemy charging the unit or any enemy unit at all. However, the first casualty must go on any enemy skirmish unit in arc and range. So that is an enemy skirmishing unit. However, this isn't a brigade skirmish line. That is a battalion in skirmish order. So I'm going to take the casualty off these guys. I'll take them back down to 4. And I'll put the casualty back on them, which will take them back up to 3. So they will go unformed because that's not a brigade skirmish line. That is a independent light infantry battalion in skirmish order. So it's not a brigade skirmish line, so that rule doesn't apply. So they can pick who they want to shoot at. Yeah, so that's that taken care of. So now we have this worn battery here firing. It's to shoot at the skirmishes, it would just simply be rolling a single CD. So it's far more sensible that it would fire at that battery. So it's going to fire a round shot because that battery still is in effective range. So it's going to be 2 dice, but they're inferior, and then they'll get bounced through onto the light dragoons behind. So the first, that's 8, so that's going to be 1 hit, and then the bounce through, oh, it's got to be in the box. No hit on the bounce through. So 1 hit on the battery. That leaves the French. They've got 1 more battery. Battery here is going to fire canister into the Prussian skirmishers. So the white dice are the CDs. 1 hit with the CDs, 8. So that's 2. So that's going to take a base off. So now we have the Dutch-Belgian horse artillery firing with an artillery assault. So they're going to fire on to this regiment here. So it's just going to be in a inferior shot with red dice, and the white will be the CDs. So nothing from the inferior battery shot, but they do get 1 hit on this regiment here. And finally, the Prussian battery on the high ground, they're going to have a shot at this French battery here. It's inferior because of the range. 7, that'll be 1 hit. So they'll go up to 5. Now we go to infantry volleys. So 1 inferior volley at these skirmishes here because those guys are out of range. So 6. An inferior volley, I think, is 1 hit. So let's have an inferior infantry volley. Yes, 1. So now we have this battalion firing a volley into them, and the Prussians firing a volley back at them. So we'll do it simultaneously because it has no effect either way. So the Prussians will be the white dice. So the Prussians have fired a 9, and that's going to be, I think, 9 will be 2 with a discipline test. They're not drilled, elite, or veterans, so that won't cause a discipline. So that's going to be 2 hits on these, and these guys firing back with a 4 is fire discipline. So they've lost fire discipline. Oh, but they do get a CD because they are veterans. So they score a hit with a CD, which will take these guys up to worn. So that's nice. And they'll take their 2 casualties. And now all we have to do to finish off turn 11 is the melee or the combat inside this BUA. So both sides start off with 5 dice, but we'll go through the Prussians first. So they have 5 dice, but they're unformed, so they'll drop to 4. There's nothing else really going for them, so that's it. They'll have 4 dice. The assaulting French, okay, they're grenadier quality, so let's, sorry, well, they're Swiss, French, whatever. Okay, so they've got post of honor, so they'll give them another 2, so they're up to 7. They are formed higher grade, but they're not fighting Crute, so they're up to 7, but they'll drop 1 because they're fighting in a built-up area against guys. So these guys are in a BUA, but they're defending it. These guys are charging through a BUA. So the Prussians will have 4, and the Swiss will have 5, 6, 7, 6. So it's 4v6. We'll do the Swiss first. Get them out of the way. See what the Prussians have to do to beat them. 1, 2. They've got 2 hits. Now we'll go with the defenders. 2 hits. So it's a draw. Okay. So they both take 2 casualties. So their 1 will go up to 3. And their 1 will go up to 3. And then it's a fight-on result. Okay, so both sides have decided to stand and reinforce. So the Prussians will get reinforced by these guys. The Swiss will get reinforced by these guys. So that'll essentially result in, they'll have 4 dice. They'll have 4 dice because both are unformed. Glory, because the post of honor will give them another 2, so that's 6. And then both sides will get an additional 5 from their supporting battalions. So 4 and 5 is 9, and 4, 5, 6, and 5 is 11. So it's going to be 9v11. So we'll do the Prussians first. So here's the Prussians 9 dice. That's cocked. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 hits. So it'll be 3 and 3 here and 2 here. But now the Swiss with their 11 dice. I'm going to use different coloured ones to represent this guy's effort. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 hits. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough. Now, there must be a risk to this general because even though they were victorious, he did fight a 2nd round of combat, so he's really pitching in. So 3, he's okay. So no risk there. So these guys are going to get a retreat result. They'll go out. This battalion will move through them and take the ground and retake the front end of the BUA. So now, because both of these units were involved in the fighting and they lost, both units, the rules say units, retreat. 2 units retreating. Now this brigade falters. So the Swiss have saved the day to a degree. They've driven the Prussians out, caused 2 units to falters to retreat, faltering this brigade, and the worm has slightly turned. So here we are at the beginning of turn 12, and there's a bit of a development for the Prussians. Blücher has been greeted by a British courier from Wellington's army who is currently fighting Napoleon in the vicinity of Halle. Dear Prince Blücher, I am writing to inform you of the situation at Halle, where we have engaged the French in a hard-fought battle today. While we are managing to hold our ground, the enemy remains strong and is pressing heavily against our lines. It is imperative that you move your Prussian forces with haste to our support, as the French are attempting to outflank us and could potentially threaten our entire position. I believe a coordinated attack by our combined armies is the only way to decisively defeat the enemy. Please communicate your intentions as soon as possible. With utmost regard. Signed, the Duke of Wellington. Likewise, at the same time, a courier from Napoleon has arrived at Davout's headquarters. Marshal Davout, I have received your dispatch regarding the disposition of troops approaching your position. Your vigilance is commendable, and I am confident in your ability to decisively confront any potential threat. However, I must emphasize the utmost importance of maintaining a posture of calculated aggression, not allowing the Prussians to perceive any hesitation from your forces. Should they sense weakness, it could embolden them to act. Therefore, I direct you to further reinforce your positions at Nivelles and be prepared to launch a swift offensive should the Prussians make any move towards provocation. Remember that swift action is often the key to victory. I place great trust in your leadership, Marshal Davout. Sincerely, Emperor Napoleon. So the die has been cast. Napoleon has ordered Marshal Davout to reinforce and fight on as best he can. So we're rolling for ADC availability for the Prussian 1st Infantry Division. They've got 2. Prussian 2nd Infantry Division. They've got 3. The Prussian Guards Division. They've got 1. And the Netherlands Division. They've got 1. So that's pretty poor for the Allies. Prussian Corps order availability. They've got all but the blue. French 12th Division. They've got 4. And the French 13th Division. They've got 2. And Corps orders for Davout. Red and white. So Prince William of Orange is going to use his single CNC command, which is going to be Chief of Staff. He's going to use that up. So he automatically gets another 2. So that'll take him up to 3. And he gets to roll for the 2 that he missed. And he's got both of them. So that's another 2. Now, I'm not too sure if you roll a double 6, you get an extra one. But he's at least got another 2. So that's going to take him up to 5 as a minimum. Because they're re-rolls, I guess they would be individual dice, so I'm not going to combine them. So that means Prince William Orange has got 5. So we might as well go with the brigade ADC taskings from here. And we'll start with the Prince William of Orange and the Netherlanders. He's giving each one of his brigades, the infantry, the 2 infantry brigades and the cavalry brigade, a re-roll. And the other 2 he's going to allocate as artillery assault for the battery there. So that's their 5. Now, as for the Prussian Guards Brigade, they've got 1, but they're going to have an ADC tasking from Corps given to them. That gives them 2. And they're going to use 2 to use 1 of his CNC taskings, and they're going with Post of Honour for the Cavalry Brigade. Now, as we go forward here, I must apologise. You might hear my son screaming in the background. He's playing some kind of computer game. So I apologise for the distraction, but I figured I would just keep going with it. And it's better than a voiceover, I think. So just sorry about that. Try to ignore him. He's doing his best Ron Burgundy impersonation with the occasional, "They're coming in the back door, save the children," exclamations and screams. So I apologise, but it won't last for long. Now, there's 3 ADCs for the 2nd Division. They lose 1 automatically to shore up brigade morale, divisional morale, because of this faltering brigade. So that leaves them 2, and that 1 will be a re-roll for this division. This brigade, and a re-roll for the other infantry. The cavalry will go with it. As for the 1st Division, they're going to give both to the 2nd Brigade a re-roll with glory, and the cavalry and the infantry will have no re-rolls. For the French divisions, the 13th Division, they're going to use 2 of theirs for, again, post of honor. They're going to have a core ADC allocated to this brigade here with the 12 pounders, and the other 2 infantry brigades will get no taskings at all. That just leaves the 4 ADCs with the 12th Division, and each brigade will get a re-roll. So now we'll roll for brigade activation. Okay, so the Prussian Guard Infantry, they've got a bold commander, so they get a re-roll, and they've passed. The Guard Cavalry, they automatically pass. The Dutch-Belgian Infantry Brigade with a re-roll, they've passed. The Nassau Infantry Brigade with a re-roll, they've passed. And the Cavalry Brigade with Artillery Assault and re-roll, they've passed. Let's have a look at the 1st and 2nd Division. The Cavalry Division without a re-roll, they've gone hesitant. And the Infantry Division with a re-roll, they've passed. Now we roll for the faltering Prussian Brigade in the 2nd Division. They're predominantly line quality. So here's their first roll. Well, they've rallied. So they'll just go to hesitant now. The 1st Division, a re-roll with glory. They've passed. And then the Cavalry Brigade without a re-roll, they've passed. And the Infantry Brigade without a re-roll, they've passed. So with 2 brigades within the 1 division that are hesitant, that means the Prussians, when they roll for core initiative, they will be rolling 3 dice and taking the lower 2. Now we'll roll for the French brigades. I just remembered, because this division has a faltering brigade, they'd lose one of their ADCs to shore up divisional morale. So that means the Swiss are going to go without a re-roll. So let's roll for the brigades. This one here, the 51st Infantry, re-roll with an adjutant. Oh, a double 2, so they're going to go hesitant. Now the Swiss, they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade with a re-roll, they've passed. The 1st Brigade, they're predominantly veterans. So these 2 battalions here and the gunners. Right, here's their first roll. 4, okay, they rally. Okay, the cavalry automatically pass, obviously. So we have these guys without a re-roll. 2, they've gone hesitant. These guys here with a re-roll, they're fine. And these guys in the woods without a re-roll, they're fine. So this conscript brigade's gone hesitant. There's 2 hesitant brigades in the 12th Division. That means that the French will also be rolling 3 dice and taking the lower 2. It should be noted a caisson was allocated, and because this brigade has not gone hesitant, that caisson will come into action and remove 2 casualties from this battery. So they'll now be at 4. The Prussians will be the red dice. This is going to be critical. Okay, the 2 lower, that's a 5. Oh, by 1. The Prussians have the initiative by 1. Okay, so this is the situation, and it's quite unique. I've never seen this before. But when the divisional commander of the 13th Division used his post of honor, he is attaching to the Dragoon Regiment that is veteran, not the one that's classed as Grenadiers, unsurprisingly. By contrast, the Prussian Guard Division commander, he's attached to the Dragoon Regiment that's classed as elite, as opposed to the one that's classed as veteran, unsurprisingly. Now, the Prussians have the initiative, so they're going to charge first. Their target is going to be this regiment here that's classed as Grenadiers, unsurprisingly. That means that the post of honor for the Prussians, because he is attached to this regiment, will go with this regiment. Unfortunately for the French, their post of honor, which is with this regiment, is not going to come into play unless there's a second round of combat and these guys reinforce. So that's the situation. So now the first thing we have to do is the Prussians have the initiative. They will charge 18 inches because they're in column. They have post of honor, so they will have to roll 2d6 plus 6. that's another 12 inches. So an additional 12 inches should easily get them into contact with the target of the charge. So here's another 12. Yeah, no problem. So they'll move to within the 3-inch mark, and all the associated reactions will take place. So we'll do that now. Now, on closer inspection of the rules, it does say that the post of honor, the divisional commander attaches to the brigade, not to a specific unit. Obviously, you put him with a specific unit once you launch your attack. So with that in mind, I'm going to allow this divisional commander to actually attach to this unit. The reason for that is I rationalized that as they were charging in, he would have seen where the main effort was, and he will move to assist where he thinks he can do the most good. So because he's attached to the brigade, when we get to the charge results and all the rest of the carry-on, he's going to attach to this unit. It does mean that there is more risk to him, that he might get, become a casualty, but that's where he's going to go, and that's where he's going to put the effort in. Oh, and I did say these dragoons, they're cuirassiers. I sometimes think of them as dragoons because they're not wearing cuirasses, but these are actually heavy cavalry cuirassiers. These guys are dragoons. Okay, so if we go through the supports and whatnot, both units will be rolling 2 dice. Oh, before we do that, we need to do the shooting. So as they come in, these guys here will have to take, they've come within 6 inches, so they have to evade, flee away, and they take a CD's worth of casualties as they do it. No hits on them, but they will be back here unformed, so they'll just go dashing away, thinking better of it. That leaves this square able to fire a CD at them as they come charging in. They miss, so they've had a shot with no effect. The column could shoot, but they would risk losing fire discipline in the process, and at the best will get 1 casualty, which will have no effect on the fight. So we're not even going to worry about that. So to that end, we'll just carry on. These guys here, both this lead unit and this lead unit will get 2 dice each. These guys are Grenadier battle cavalry. These guys are heavy elites. So they'll get a reroll for being elite, and they'll get a reroll for their support. These guys will get a reroll for their support. And that's it. Infantry can't support cavalry, and artillery is nowhere nearby. So we'll do the Prussians will be red, and the French will be white. Okay, so it's 6 versus 8 at this point. The French will take their re-roll of the 2 from these guys. Oh, and they've gone up to 6. Interesting. That means that they have 2 re-rolls. 1 for the support. We'll do that one first. Ugh, it's got worse. And 1 for being elite. Oh, it got worse again. Oh, that's a terrible result. So this has gone all to crap. The result is a negative, what's the difference? 10 to 5. It's a negative 5. Cavalry, unformed, and the defender will combat with alarm. Eek. So now we have the next charge, which is from the 2nd Brigade of the 1st Division. And they'll be charging in with these guys here. They're just normal line infantry. As they come in, they'll get shot at by the garrison. They're unformed, so it's simply 4 dice. Two hits, 1 casualty as they come charging in. And then they just go straight in because it's a garrison fighting in BUA. Actually, it's the this battalion here, the blue with the green facing, that's the 1st Battalion. So it's those guys that are going in. They've taken their hit. So they had 2 hits prior. They're on 3 casualties now, but that's irrelevant because it's got to be hits within the that are delivered in the charge, And we don't even go through a charge process when you're attacking a BUA. You just deliver your fire and in you go. So that's that. They're going in, carrying 3 casualties with glory against an unformed garrison. So that should be interesting. For the Prussians, there is one more charge, and that is the Brandenburg Hussars with their supports, these Landwehr Lancers, on the French 7th Hussars. And in this scenario, both will get a reroll. These guys, because they are battle cavalry, they're also grenadier, but you can only have one or the other. They're battle cavalry versus campaign cavalry. They get a reroll because they've got the supports from behind. Okay, so the Prussians will be the white, the French will be the red. Well, so they both rolled really low. The Prussians have got a 3 and a 1. The French have a 3 and a 2. The Prussians will re-roll their 1, and they've gone up to 4, so it's 7. The Hussars will roll their 2, hoping for something better, and they've got 3. So the Prussians have won by a +1. So for them, that means that they will close, and a +1 victory. Cavalry versus close to combat, line versus column, combat with a line. Well, they're not a line, they're a column versus a column. So they close to combat, and they combat, they just close to combat. Let's just go through the movement now for the Prussians. These 2 battalions have moved up in support of the line, as has this battalion, and the brigade skirmish line has pulled back. That's 1st Brigade, 1st Division taken care of. For the 2nd Brigade, they've just pulled their skirmish screens back slightly. These guys are hesitant, so they're really not doing anything. This brigade here, simply the 2 infantry columns have moved up either in rear support or flank support of the line. Cavalry, obviously, they're hesitant, they're not doing anything. Now, the cavalry from the Dutch-Belgian Brigade division, the cavalry brigade has moved off to the left, and they've got within 6 inches of these skirmishers here, so they're going to have to go dashing back, and we'll roll for them shortly. As for the rest of the Netherlanders, big news is the batteries finally, foot batteries unlimbered, and the Nassaus have moved up. This one's crossed the headline, and this one's simply moved up. These guys are in a support position as a reserve behind the artillery. And the Prussian Guards, they have simply advanced menacingly. They've pulled back their brigade skirmish line because it's very close to being destroyed, and you don't want to go faltering for the sake of a brigade skirmish line. And that's pretty much it. That's all the Allied movement. We'll do the roll for, we'll flee these guys away. They'll have to go back 18 inches, and then we'll roll a CD to see if they take a hit. Well, the 18 inches will get them back to here. They don't take any casualties as they flee away from the menacing Netherlands cavalry. They're back here, and they're unformed. Now, what's interesting is for the French movement, hesitant brigades, if they have units with retreat markers and they don't rally, they then have to they keep their retreat markers on, and they take 4 CDs worth of casualties. One more hit on this battery will destroy it, so we're going to roll the 4 CD casualties for it, and hopefully they won't disperse and run off the battlefield. Ugh, they take 3, so this battery is now dispersed, which will cause the brigade to re-falter. Now obviously we would do that, that's the thing that I'll do last. So I'll roll for these guys, and then obviously we would have rolled for them. But these guys here, they only take 1 hit. So they'll go up to 3 casualties as they continue to struggle as with the retreat marker. But unfortunately for this battery, it's going to disperse, and the loss will cause the brigade to re-falter. And while we're doing that, we might as well do the 51st Brigade, the 51st Regiment, which is the 3rd Brigade of the 12th Infantry Division. We might as well do their casualties as well, and they've taken an additional 2, so they're now up to 8. So without all those retreating units from Hesitant Brigade taken care of, now we'll just go on to the normal movement. So I'll do all that and I'll come back and tell you how the movement went for the French. Okay, they've recovered their fire discipline. Retreating units have to remain in position. They retain their retreating marker. They take their 4 CD casualties. We've done that for these guys. Unfortunately for them, remaining in their position puts them between this cavalry unit and this one. So if they get an ongoing melee, these guys aren't going to be able to pitch in and help. Anyway, that's a problem for the French. Like I said, recovered fire discipline. Brigade skirmish lines moved around. They've continued to hold their retreat marker. For the Swiss, really they've done nothing except this battalion in here that was unformed has reordered. This battalion is involved in a combat, so they're not able to reorder just yet. This brigade here essentially has done nothing, and the Hessian brigade here is doing nothing also. So there's nothing to report on these two brigades. Being hesitant is a pain in the butt. Cavalry brigades obviously tied up in a melee here. These guys have formed a square, as have these, just waiting to see how this cavalry battle plays out. These guys have remained in line. The squares are covering their flanks. Their brigade skirmish line has reordered, and then this light infantry battalion here has formed into line in preparation of receiving an attack, and this battalion here has reordered. That's all the French movement, so now we go on to firing. We'll start off with the skirmishers on the Prussian right flank. So the light infantry battalion, they'll be firing. It's a light infantry battalion, 5. They're not yet at 6 casualties, so they still going to drop 1. Rifled arms 6, in the woods back down to 5. And then we'll do these brigade skirmish lines. But we'll do these guys first. So it's going to be 5 dice. 6, 6, 4, 4, 1. Okay, that's 2 casualties, so that'll take these guys up to 5. So that's pretty good shooting from the Guard Jaeger. Okay, now these brigade skirmish lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice, and they're going to shoot at the battery. Five, 4, 4. That's at 3 hits. 1 casualty, so they go up to 5 now. And now 4 more dice from this Dutch-Belgian brigade skirmish line, and again they're going to pour it into the battery. So it's 4 dice this time. 4, 4, 6, 4. Wow, that's awesome shooting. So that's another 2. They're now up to 7 casualties. This battery is worn. Now we have a brigade skirmish line here and here. This one will shoot at the battery, and this one will shoot at the line. So 5 at the battery. 6, 6, 5, 1, 3. So that's 3 hits, 1 casualty. Now this battery is worn. At these guys here. 6, 4, 3, 1. Okay, so that's going to be 1 casualty on these guys, and that's their first casualty for the battle. Now we'll go to the French skirmisher fire. This brigade skirmish line firing at them. It's 4 bases, so 5 dice. 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's going to be 1 casualty. These guys are going to go up to 7 casualties. I did neglect to fire these guys out of here as these guys were coming in, because technically they could have fired them. The hits would not make any difference whatsoever in regards to the charge resolution, but I'll let them fire out anyway. They were unformed at the time, so it'll be 4 dice, and it's only 1 hit, so no casualties anyway. But at least for completeness, the garrison that was in here did fire. Okay, so now we have the Dutch-Belgian batteries firing. So these guys will be firing. They can't fire through here because they've got their own skirmishers in the way, but they can fire onto these squares, and they will. They'll pour the love into this square here. Okay, so they're firing at, this battery is firing at long range, this one's firing at effective. It is firing at a square, so it'll be inferior with a single CD because they're firing at squares. So this battery first. So 5, so nothing with the 5, but a hit from the CD. And now this battery at effective range, the red dice will be the CDs. They've got 2 for canister fire, for artillery assault, and 1 for the square. So 6 is going to be, I believe, 1. Yes, and 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's pretty good shooting. So that's going to be a grand total of 5 casualties all up on that poor square. Now we have the Prussian battery on the hill firing on the French battery down here. It's a inferior shot. 6-0. So now we'll go to the French battery. This battery here, it's worn now, so it's going to be inferior fire, despite the fact that it's at close range, or effective range, I should say. So inferior fire into the line. 6, no hits. That just leaves the 12-pounders, and they're in a terrible state. So these 12-pounders here will fire a round shot into this Dutch-Belgian battery that's just come into action. It's inferior, 7. That's going to be 1 casualty. At least they welcome them with some round shot. But for the Prussians, they only have 1 volley, and it's from this battalion here, and they're shooting at these guys. So it's just going to be an inferior volley because they're worn. 6. I believe that's just 1 casualty. So these guys will go up to 3. Now the French will return fire. These guys here. It's a standard volley plus a CD because they are veterans. 7 and nothing. So 7 on a standard volley, I'm pretty sure is going to be 2. So they now go up to 9. So now we just have these 2 French volleys. This one will be inferior because they're shooting at skirmishes, light infantry and skirmish order. 7, that's going to be 1 hit on those guys, which will make those guys worn. And then these guys are going to fire at this battalion here, and it's just a standard volley. 7, which will be 2. So 1 here and 2 there. That's all the shooting. Now we go to hand. So we'll calculate the dice for these elite, the Brandenburg cuirassiers hitting these 2nd Dragoons. So they start off with 5. They get 2 for post of honor. That takes them up to 7. They get another 1 for being elite. That takes them up to 8. Plus another 1 for elite cavalry and another 1 for heavy cavalry. So that's a grand total of 10, but they lose 1 because they're unformed. So that will give them a total of 9. So we're going to roll theirs first. So they're 9. Hitting on 4 5s and 6s. That's a pretty good roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've missed with 4. They got over half. So they've got 5 hits on these chaps. So now we do these guys. Okay, they're going to start with 5 plus 2 for post of honor plus 1 for elan. So that's going to give them a grand total of 8. One, 2, 3, 4. So they've inflicted 4 hits on these guys. Okay. So it's a victory by 1 for the Prussians. And cavalry versus cavalry. Combat by 1. First round, unformed, fight on. Okay, so now these guys are going to pitch in. So now we do the second round. We'll do the Prussians first. Nothing's changed for these guys. They were unformed before. So it's still 9 for them. And then these guys will contribute another 6. 5 for the unit and 1 for being heavy. So a grand total of 15. Hitting on 4 plus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 hits all up. So that'll be 4 and 4. But 8 all up. Now these guys here, 5 for the unit. Another 1 for elan. and another 2 for post of honor. That will take them up to 8, but they lose 1 now because they're unformed, and these guys will bring 5. So 7 and 5 is going to be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's going to be an additional 5 and 4. So miraculously, what we have here is the French actually being victorious and driving the Prussian cavalry off. Now, there is going to be a risk to general for both sides because he might have won, but he's fought a second round with glory involved. So the Prussians will be black, the French will be white. Neither of them have fallen off their horses, so that's that completed. That is incredibly brave work from these French dragoons driving off these elite and veteran cuirassiers. So veterans and grenadiers have driven off elites and veterans. So the Prussians have been, basically, they retreated all the way back to here, but they've just kept moving back until they've got back to here. And that's where they've decided to halt. And they're back here faltering because two regiments or 2 units retreating in the 1 brigade will cause the brigade to falter. Okay, so the next combat to resolve is this one here. Both units start with 5. The Prussians will drop 1 because they're attacking a BUA, but they'll gain 1 for glory. So they'll go up to 5. The garrison, they're at 5, but they're unformed, so they'll drop down to 4. So as 5 plays 4, the Prussians will be the white dice. Okay, 1 hit by the Prussians and 2 by the French. So it's a victory by 1 for the Swiss, and that is both sides unform and fight on. So the Swiss are going to pour in their 2nd battalion from here, and the Prussians will send in their reservist battalion. All right, so we'll do the Prussian total first. They're 5. They're unformed, back down to 4, glory back to 5, plus a fresh battalion, 5. So 10 dice all up. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 666 there, so we're going to have a fire. And that's it, 4 hits. It'll be 2 and 2. And now the Swiss battalions, unformed, so they go from 5 to 4. And these guys are worn 5 to 4. So 8 all up. One, 2, 3, 4. 4 hits again. So it's a draw. And a draw result against the garrison. Infantry versus garrison. 2nd round, attacker withdraws. So these guys will simply withdraw. Taking an additional 2 casualties on them, making them worn, and 2 casualties on the reservists. And so they're now back here unformed, and we still have to do the risk to general because he was at glory was in place, and they've rolled a 4, so he's still fine. So there's been a lot of risks to generals, but none of them have succumbed. So now we have this cavalry battle here to conclude, and it's quite simply, it's 5 dice each. We'll roll for the Prussians first. They've inflicted 2 hits on these guys. Now we'll roll for the French 7th Hussars. And they've done 3 hits on these guys. That's a victory by 1, which is a fight-on result. So here we go again. So the French are going to do a fighting withdrawal, and the Prussians are going to stand and reinforce. This means that these guys will fight again, and they will fight again either against these guys or these guys, depending on which ones the Prussians throw in. They'll probably throw in their lancers. Yes, so the The Lancers will come, the Landwehr Cavalry will come in now. They're reservists. They're not recruits, so they won't pick up a dice for that. Grenadiers fighting against lower grade. So they're not unformed, so they'll get 5 dice. These guys would normally have 5, but now they're unformed, so they'll drop to 4. Obviously, the Prussians are going to be the white dice. So 2 hits each, 5-4 and 4-4. So these now go up to 6. They're worn, and these guys will take their 2 casualties, which I'll mark shortly. They will withdraw, which will put them back here. Now, one last thing before we wrap up this turn. There was a 666 in the hand-to-hand here, so a fire should break out. So the fire will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. All right, so it's directly at the front of the BUA. So the front of the BUA is now on fire. And the Lancers have also opted to withdraw because they want to stay out there like a shag on the rock and probably get shot at by this BUA. So that ends turn 12, and now we move on to turn 13. Well, it really could be that this turn has been the defining moment in the battle. One of those hinge points that Eric Dershman often speaks about in his books. The heroic efforts by the French cavalry from both this division, the 12th and the 13th, and the efforts by the Swiss to hold on here in Nivelles really might have turned things around, because now the situation, the pressure really is on the Allies. They're going to have one more turn where the Young Guard aren't here to drive home and secure victory. And that'll probably take place where the main effort is, which is where the Prussian Guard is facing off against the French in the woods. If they can clear those woods out with their guard and destroy that French brigade, on the French left, that might be enough to secure victory for them. However, the following turn, the Young Guard will arrive, and that is a powerful division with 6 battalions of veteran infantry, together with good quality cavalry and excellent artillery. So for the Allies now, it really is a case of driving home, and if they can't win the battle, at least inflict maximum damage on the French. And they've already done that. They've destroyed a couple of batteries of artillery, destroyed a battalion of infantry, and they've got a couple of other French battalions that are holding on by a thread, as is a lot of their cavalry have been heavily mauled as well. So it's really going to be an interesting turn. This next turn really could decide, if not this battle, it could decide the campaign for this French division. This French corps. Okay, so now we're rolling for divisional ADC availability. Start of turn 13, French 12th Division. They've got they've only got 2, which is not good. And the French 13th Division, we might as well do them while we're at it. And they've only got 2 as well, so 2 each, which is not good. And now for Corps ADC, the Corps orders. They've got red and white. They've missed out on the black and the blue. We'll do the Prussian Corps orders now. Red and black. They missed out on the white and blue. Now the Prussian ADCs. 1st Division. They've got 2. And 2nd Division. 2. 2. Prussian Guards, they've got 3. And the Netherlands, they've got 4. Double 6. 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's 2 ADCs with the 1st Division. They're going to use their final CNC tasking, Chief of Staff. So they get 2 back straight away. That takes them up to 4. And they get to roll for the 2 that they missed. And they get another 2. So they've got 6 ADCs at their disposal. So for this division, the 1st Brigade's going to go Infantry, Assault, Glory, and a reroll. And they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade gets a reroll. And they've passed. And this brigade gets a reroll with skirmish. And they've passed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's their 6 ADCs used up. And that's what they've gone with. Right. So the 2nd Infantry Division, they've got 2 ADCs, and they're given a reroll to each of their infantry brigades. So this brigade here first, they've passed. This brigade over yonder, they've passed. And now the Cavalry Brigade, without a reroll, they've passed. So far so good. Let's have a look at the Prussian Guards. The Prussian Guards had 3. They lost 1 to brigade, the shore up brigade or divisional morale. And so that's here. They've given the 2nd one to this brigade to enable them to have a reroll if necessary. And the 3rd one they're using over here with their bold infantry brigade commander to basically have infantry assault with a reroll. So we'll do the cavalry first. Their first roll. Okay, that would be wavering. That's not good. Their next roll. Oh, that's terrible. I think they'll still be classed as wavering. Yep, that's a wavering result for them. We'll get to that shortly. But in the meantime, the Prussian Guard infantry, they have a reroll with infantry assault. They easily pass. That just leaves the Netherlanders with their 4. They're giving infantry assault, glory, and reroll to the Nassaus. That's 3 of them used up. So we'll roll for them first, and they've passed. The Dutch-Belgian Brigade has no attachment at all. Nope. And they've passed. And finally, they've given a reroll to the Cavalry Brigade, and they've passed. So that's that. Now, as for wavering, what does that mean? Essentially, wavering for these 2 units that are retreating, they will both have to roll 4 CDs. So this unit here first with 4 casualties, 4 CDs, and they take another 2. So they're now worn. So they're down to 6. The brigade remains faltering. Now this unit here with 9 casualties, this could see them disperse if they roll poorly. 2 more casualties. They're just 1 off dispersal. Oh, mind you, they're elite, so it might be a little bit more than that. But another 2, so that takes them up to 11. They are in a terrible state. Right, so let's now activate the French brigades. Okay, so there's only 2 for this division, and they're going to have to give both to this brigade if they want to re-roll. They lose 1 automatically for divisional morale, and they get 1 so they can re-roll. So let's do them first. 4. Okay, they will rally to hesitant. Okay, so now the Swiss Brigade without a reroll, they're fine. The Cavalry Brigade without a reroll, they've gone hesitant. So these guys here now, again, no reroll for them, they're fine. Again, there's only 2 ADCs for this division. They've given 1 to this brigade here and 1 to here. They've also allocated a core caisson. That was the core order. So if they activate, they'll be able to lift casualties. The cavalry is a bold brigade commander, so he has an inbuilt reroll. The only one that won't have a reroll will be these guys here. So we'll start with the conscripts first. They're fine. The cavalry brigade with a reroll. Oh, double 1. They've gone hesitant. These guys here, they're fine. And the chaps in the woods, they're fine. Okay, so hesitant here. I'm not really surprised. These cavalry brigades have been beating the tripe out of one another. Now, this is a hesitant brigade. They have a retreat marker on them, so they'll have to roll their 4 CDs again. Again, only one casualty, so not many are slipping away. Okay, so now we're going to roll for Corps Initiative. The French will roll 3 dice because they have 2 hesitant brigades within the 1 division, and the Prussians will only be rolling 2 dice. So the Prussians will be the white, the French will be the red. The French take the lower 2. 7 plays 7. In that case, the side that had the initiative the last turn has the initiative. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Prussians. I'll go back and check. But anyway, that's who'll have the initiative for the next turn. So indeed, the Prussians have the initiative. So we start with charge declarations, and there are a lot in this turn. We'll start off here. Infantry assault with glory. So these guys are all going to charge this chap here. So let's get it on. They'll move to within 3 inches. They'll get skirmish fire and volley fire. Other than that, nothing else. So the volley fire first. It's going to be a standard volley with a CD because they are veterans. Okay, they whiffed it. 3, they've lost fire discipline, but they did get 1 hit. So that's 1 hit so far. And now they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skirmishers shooting at them. 2 hits. Okay, 3 hit. 2 casualties all up. 1 from here, 1 from here. A half doesn't count, so that's 2. That takes them up to 11. Okay, so now we're going to roll. These guys will be rolling 2 dice. These guys will be rolling 3 because they have over 6 casualties. And that's it for them. So they'll be rolling 3 and taking the lower 2. They'll have a re-roll for being veteran. They'll have 2 re-rolls for support. So the French will be the white dice. Oh, okay, so the French have rolled a double 1. Man. And the Prussians have rolled 1 and a 4. Obviously, they're going to re-roll 1 because they've got the veteran going for them. Oh, and they've gone up to 7. These guys have got 2 re-rolls. 1 for here. That's cocked. Okay, they've gone up to 8. They're winning by 1. It would be very, very dangerous, I think, to re-roll the 4. Yeah, it's like a 1 in 6 chance to get better, so I'm not going to re-roll it. I'm not even going to risk it to the dice. I'm just going to give them their victory by 1 in the charge, so they will combat with Elan, and that's that. Okay, so the next charge from the Prussians and their allies is here. The cavalry are going to charge these guns. Okay, they're within range, so, and the light dragoons are going to have to lead the way. Okay, so as they charge in, the battery will fire. It's inferior because they're worn, so that's the white dice for the shooting, but they'll get 2 for canister and 1 because it's a column target charging them. All right, so holy, that's going to hurt. An 11 plus a 6. Okay, so the 11 inferior battery 11 is going to be 2 and a discipline test, plus another 1 is going to take them, is going to be 3. So that'll take them up to 4 all up. And the square might as well add a CD into the mix. Oh, they've lost fire discipline. They rolled a 1. Okay, I forgot to do the bounce through fire from the gunners into the carabiniers. No hit there. So now these chaps have to do their discipline test. Oh, 10. They love it. All right, so now we do the charging. All right, the battery will be rolling 2 dice. The chargers will be rolling 3 because they took 3 casualties in the charge. The battery's white. Oh, 1-1-1. That's horrific. They do have a re-roll though, whereas the battery's sitting on 7. So they'll get the re-roll for the Carabiniers, sparing. Oh, jeez, that's atrocious. Okay, so that's a difference of 5. All units withdraw and take 1 CD. All right, but at least it's not a retreat result. So 1 CD on these guys. Oh yeah, they take a hit. 1 CD on the Carabiniers. They take a hit. Yeah, defender stands, takes 1 CDs. But they get no hits. Well, those gunners are certainly going to get promoted. So we'll move these guys back. They're full 24. Okay, so the next charge we have is the Nassau Brigade. And they're going to charge the guns. They have infantry assault and glory. Normal move is 9. In addition to that, they get an extra 3 for the charge bonus for the infantry assault. So that's, as you can see, 9 plus 3 handily gets them there, not a problem. So that will get them to this point here, 3 inches short. Look, we'll move them back. They'll get to there, and then they'll receive the fire from the battery. Again, it's now the caisson was there, so we're on 7 casualties, but that's down to 5. So it's going to be a standard volley from the battery, or standard fire from the battery. They get 2 for the canister and 1 for infantry column. Okay, 7. Ooh, ouch. 7's going to be 1 hit. And a discipline test, plus 1, 2, 3, so it's 4 all up. So they will do a discipline test. But they've passed with an 8. So I'll just put those 4 casualties on. Yeah, there is also bounce through fire from the battery into this accompanying unit. 1, no hits there. So now let's go through it. These guys will be rolling 3 dice and taking the lower 2 because they've taken 3 casualties or more in the charge, but they're not on form, so that's good. And the battery will be rolling simply 2. They do get a re-roll for the infantry behind them. These guys won't be able to offer a re-roll because they're the target of a charge of their own. So let's roll the dice first. Obviously, the battery is white. Okay, so the battery has rolled a handy 9. And these guys have rolled a 7. Okay, they do have a re-roll. Of course, they've got a unit to their rear. So, and they've gone up to 8. All right, there's no other re-rolls I can think of. I'll just go through it. They're not elite, they're not heavy cavalry, they're not formed infantry, they're not formed infantry column versus battle cavalry. They're not veterans grenadier or none of those. They've had their re-roll. That's it. So it's a -1. Halt and volley, lead unit unformed. All right, so they're now going to go unformed, and they'll halt and volley with their 1 CD at the battery. These charges, and nothing. These charges have not been going well for the Allies. So now we have the next charge, which is from the guard. This battalion here will charge these guys. They've got infantry assault. They're well within range. So I'll just move up to the 3-inch and they can then deliver their volley. Okay, so these guys are not veterans, so they don't get the extra CD. Oh, they do get an extra CD because it's an infantry column. Okay, so 2 red dice is the volley. They've got an 8 and a 5. 8's going to be 2, I'm pretty sure. Standard volley, 8, 2, and a discipline test if they were elite shooting, but they're not. So that's 3 all up. So that will cause them to be rolling an extra die when they charge, but they do have the advantage of being elite. Now these guys can either offer a re-roll or they could fire. I'm going to let the dice decide. Odds, it's volley fire. Evens, it's a re-roll. Odds, okay, so they're going to fire in support. So again, it's the same 7. Okay, so that's going to be another 2. So that will take them up to 6. So they will be worn. But the 3 is a miss for the firing at a column. So now we'll roll for the charge resolution. 3 dice, taking the lower 2, French of the white. Okay, that's a pretty good roll. Okay, so they've rolled a 7. These guys are rolled a 6 and a 5. There's no way they want to change that. So that's, they've got no re-rolls. These guys are not to their rear. They're to the rear of these guys, not them. So they don't get a re-roll for that, unfortunately. So that's going to be a difference of 11 to 7. It's a difference of 4. Infantry versus infantry. Take the ground. Defender retreats and suffers 4 CDs, casualties, and supports withdraw. Okay, so they are a support because they did fire. Take the ground. Defender retreats. Suffers 4 CDs. It's only 1 hit. And then the supports withdraw with 1 CD. And that's a hit. All right. So these guys are going to retreat. These guys are going to withdraw. They've gone up to 5 casualties. These guys have gone up to 6. And they'll have a retreat marker on them. So these 2 battalions are back here. There's an isolated battalion in the woods, and the Prussians are in the woods. I've just realised volleys from troops inside the woods are classed as inferior. So they would have only had 2 hits on them, those combined volleys, not 4 all up. So I've amended that. They still suffered the negatives for the charge phase, but it didn't have an effect anyway. But I'm going to give them their 2 casualties back because going from warned to being not worn can be quite detrimental going forward. So that's that there. I do make note of this later on in the video as we progress. You'll hear me talking about the fire from woods being inferior, but I just thought I'd mention it here as well. Okay, so now what we're going to look at is the movement phase for the Prussians. Obviously, they've reordered the cavalry here. The skirmish line is shuffled slightly to the left. All these units that were unformed have reordered. In the center, I should say, the Prussian cavalry brigade from the 2nd Division has moved up to this position here, and the Landwehr have formed line. I still might have to do a bit of movement with these skirmishers yet, so they'll probably angle in together, but they might not be able to fire. We'll just have to wait and see. This cavalry, obviously, this is where they withdrew from that incredible melee result. So they're back here where they withdrew to, unformed, trying to get their act together. Here, the Dutch Belgians have withdrawn their skirmish line back to here to maintain brigade cohesion. These guys have moved to the side, just making room for the artillery to play on the enemy. And as for the Prussian guards, obviously everyone was involved in the charge, with the exception of the light infantry who've moved up to the edge of the woods. So they're basically in the woods now, so they can start firing on this French column. That's it. So now we will do French movement. I did forget to mention, these guys have crossed the hedge. And yeah, these guys have just pulled back to there, and these skirmishers moved to their left. Now for the French movement, This column has stepped back. The brigade skirmish line has stepped to the left, which is the brigade skirmish line from this brigade here. They've come out of square because they don't feel so threatened by cavalry anymore. These guys are remaining in square because of the threat from the Prussian cavalry. They've formed square. They've stepped back to gain rear support. And there's really no movement to speak of here due to all the kerfuffle that happened during the charge phase. So now we'll go to shooting. Line of sight in the wood is 6 inches, so even though they're up at the edge of the wood, they can't see these guys. They've stepped back, no firing there. And I have made a mistake during the game. I allowed troops that were firing from inside the woods, close order troops. It's actually a negative modifier. So just something for you to know going forward, that if you've got troops in the woods firing out, it's a negative modifier to their fire, which could have quite an effect on if they're shooting at skirmishes or not. But anyway, that was an oversight on my behalf, but it is what it is. Moving right along, that means the only skirmish fire for the Prussians is going to be further along towards the center. So 4 bases here. That's 5 dice, and they're going to shoot at the battery. Two hits, that's 1 casualty, so they're going to go up to 7. Now, these guys had a skirmish tasking, but they can't fire into the front of the BUA anymore because it's on fire, so that's not an option for them. And they don't even have casualties to recover, so they can't use the skirmish tasking for that. So that's all the skirmishing for the Prussians. So the only French skirmishing at all is going to be these guys here. 3 bases, 4 for the brigade skirmish line. They're shooting in woods, so that's going to take them back down to 3. 3-3, that's cocked, but it doesn't matter. They can't get a hit with a casualty with a single hit. So that's pretty ineffective. So that's all the skirmishes. Now we'll go to artillery. So the Dutch-Belgian batteries first. This battery here is going to fire at this cavalry regiment. So its effective range, 10, that's going to be 2. Ouch. That takes them up to 11. And a discipline test. So here's their discipline test. They are grenadier quality, but they'll be testing as line. It's 8, they passed. And now the other battery will fire. Again, at these guys, they only need to get 1 more hit. 7, that's going to be that'll take them up to 12. That will destroy this regiment of cavalry. They'll falter. Now the Prussian battery on the hill over yonder. Well, before I do that, I said effective range. They were actually just over 2 foot, so it was ineffective. But the results were correct. A 10 and a 7 inferior battery is a result of 2 and 1, which is 3, which is enough to destroy those poor dragoons. So the Prussian battery on the hill, firing long range at this square here. It is a square, so they get a CD. Whoa, 11 and a 3. Nothing on the 3, and 11 is going to be inferior battery. It's going to be 2 hits. And a discipline test for these guys. Now they are conscripts. 11, but they love it. So 2 hits now on that square there. So there are no volleys to speak of, and there's no French artillery fire because it's all been done during the charge phase. So now we have this hand-to-hand to resolve. So we'll do the Prussians first. They start with 5. With 6 plus casualties, they're now dropped to 4, but they've got glory and elan, so they're back up to 6 dice. So 5 minus 1 plus 2, 6. And they've got 1, 2, 3 hits. 3 hits on the Prussians. Perfectly average. Now the French, they're veterans fighting lower quality. So it's 5 plus 1 for the veterans. That's 6. There's no others, no pluses, no minus. So they have 6. And they've got 2 hits on these guys. This will be enough to destroy them. So they're going to get a Pyrrhic victory, but they are still the losers. So we'll just consult the Book of Words. So in this case, the unit that won the combat is actually dispersed. They're destroyed, taken off. This brigade is going to falter now. And the unit that originally had lost converts to becoming a winner. They ignore all the combat results and they simply hold the ground unformed. So they have 3 casualties. So that was a pretty foolhardy and stupid decision to charge with that many casualties on them. But hey, you get that. Now, the glory was in play. So there's a chance that this chap might fall off his horse. No, he has survived the event and is now back here. All right, and this brigade is now faltering. Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping. Nick Jennings, one of the viewers, pointed out kindly that the horse artillery battery that was part of this dragoon brigade that was here, when it had to do a discipline test due to the fire from the combined Prussian batteries, rolled a 12, which means it would have gained a casualty back, which means it would not have dispersed. That said, I've never used that rule before. Actually, I don't think I've ever rolled a 12 in a discipline test. And if I have, I haven't noticed it. So essentially what's happened is this brigade has lost their horse artillery battery, maybe a turn early. But regardless, with the loss of the horse artillery battery and the dragoon regiment, this brigade is over 50% lost. Therefore, this brigade would then disperse. So to compensate for the fact that this battery shouldn't have gone pop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this brigade just go to faltering rather than dispersal. And I'll just declare that that horse artillery battery was actually a core asset that was attached and therefore has no effect on the dispersal of this brigade. And that's how I'm going to rationalize it and get around it. So that's where we're at. Now, like I said, it's the end of turn 13. Turn 14 is the arrival of the Young Guard. The battle is delicately poised. The Prussians and the Netherlanders have had a mixed success on the French left, which was the main effort. But on the French right, they've had a bit of a mixed bag because they now have a brigade of their own faltering after that suicidal charge that was done in an attempt to put maximum pressure on the French, hoping that they would get multiple brigades faltering and therefore cause the French to collapse before the Young Guard could get here. But it hasn't paid off. So now the French Young Guard is going to arrive. They've got 2 3-battalion brigades of veterans, a brigade of Young Guard cavalry, consisting of 2 regiments of Eclairs scouts. But more importantly, I think they have 2 batteries of guard artillery coming on. So this is going to change the dynamics of the battle. And what's also very interesting is the front end of the village of Nivelles is now on fire. So no one's coming in through the front door. So again, that makes it interesting too. I recommend you go check out Basement 1908. Steve's playing the Battle of Hal at the moment, and that battle is being fought in conjunction with this one as part of a wider campaign. So what happens here will affect what goes on over there, and what happens over there will affect what goes on over here in a broad operational sense. So we're going to wrap it up there. Join us again for part 4 and the conclusion of the Battle of Nivelles. And until then, I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave comments. I find them very interesting. Uruguay.